So
every,
anyway, back to the town hall. I would like to try to get these up. And for anybody that's online or on in the meeting, we do have a set of drawings here showing what our proposed changes are to the building, if anybody's interested in taking a look at it. Mike, I heard you on there. Did you want to start out with your report?
Sure. I see Chris is on, and maybe he can help me on this first item, which is the Denver water project. The startup was supposed to start today. Chris, how did that go?
Yes, we're nearly there. They have to install a couple more relays tomorrow down at the wellheads, and but things are going well there. It'll probably be done tomorrow.
Okay, and that's Aqualogics and
That's
Hinkley?
Aqualogics, yes.
Okay. All right.
That's all the
Good.
controls and the telemetry.
Good. And Mike Hinkley has somebody there as well?
Yes, yep.
Okay. All right. That's good news. It'll be good to. And again, if I'm heading out for a few days, but if something comes up, feel free to text me or call me.
Okay.
All right. Again, this item 1B on Denver is just a reminder. I don't think we're ready on it yet, but we'll need to figure out what else we want Hubble to do before contract closeout. If no other questions on Denver, I'll move to Roxbury and Grand Gorge. Hopefully folks are seeing some activity down at the well site. There's a building foundation in, if you haven't noticed, and some of the electrical work and the plumbing work under slab is getting started. So I also expect Evergreen to do a bit more of the piping work in this coming week or next. The rain may have slowed things down, but the big 24-inch pipe there, that's the chlorine contact main, that will be, as I understand it, the next big task by Evergreen. Not mentioned in the report is that Evergreen did get their minority women business utilization plan approved, so they should be all set, within the next week or two to have the money, their pay applications approved at EFC's level. And they do have a second pay application in front of the board tonight for your consideration. Nobody else asked about a pay application, but given the activity at the site, I assume you'll probably see them from at least 3 of the 4 contractors for next month. The Water Quality Improvement Program submission to DEC seems to be approved to the point where they're talking about having a press release to announce the grant money and the accomplishment of the project thus far. They indicated they'll be reaching out to Alan on that. And we are in the process of actually putting together all the, we'll say, documentation to allow the drawdown of that money. There's a piece of that from Young Summer that in terms of their expenses relative to land acquisition that I'm working with Alyssa at Kevin's firm on. And yeah, I guess that's about it on that. Any questions on that?
If you want to, Mike, just for people that are in the room, maybe just briefly explain what that program is.
What that was, or excuse me, what that is it was a DEC program that piggybacked on the other project funding that was specifically for land acquisition around the wellhead to improve water quality and protection of the well sources. Kudos to Diane for having noticed the announcement for that funding, because that's, she's the one that kind of led us to that. We pursued it and ended up being successful in getting it. But again, it all originated with Diane. But what happens is once that money's drawn down, it does have to go back to EFC. It did have a slightly higher grant to loan percentage than the regular funding. So it's an overall win to the town. Next item is the propane tank procurement. This has been on the agenda. We're meeting report for a few months here. We have a couple options here, and I don't know that we need to get into the details tonight, but what I'm thinking of is maybe Alan and Kevin and I can just kick this around maybe early next week, and subject to any input, any discussion the board has later on, we can just pick a plan and go with it. We have 3 vendors that are all about the same price. Some have different conditions and whatnot. So we just need to sort through that.
Okay.
The surveyor, the ongoing concern over the location of the the Roxbury Reservoir connection main and how close it is to Kevin DePodwin's house. That has finally been, I guess, figured out and drawn up. With the outline tonight, I had sent the sketch that we got from the surveyor showing what rural water mapped out as being the water main about 2 to 3 feet from Kevin's house. How that ever happened, who knows? But anyway, he wants to build an addition in that direction, and it will require him to either wait for the town to replace it along at the project schedule, or we understand that he may be interested in relocating that at his cost.
Kevin is here tonight, by the way, Mike. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to say, Kevin, about
No, I
that.
appreciate Mike's follow-up on that.
We'll
We'll have the site plan tomorrow.
Yeah, just so you know, Kevin, I did speak with Kevin Young, our town attorney. And what I think we probably at this point would like to try to do is set up a meeting with you and with Mike, and we'll in the next, you're gonna be gone a week, right, Mike?
Yeah, I'll be back next Monday.
Maybe next week we'll set up a meeting and get together to kind of hash through what the procedure is gonna be and
Great.
which way you want to go with this thing.
Okay,
So,
great. Thanks.
okay, good enough.
All right, so then the last related to what we just discussed is that Susan Aniker, the surveyor, is going to be trying to figure out the easement situation relative to where the water main actually is. It may help explain some of the easements that she's, she has researched, or Kevin's office has researched. And we've yet to see that work product. She's working on that this week. So, that'll just help make sense of the overall plan of attack of whether we consider relocating the main out in the road, or do we run it essentially parallel to the existing main in a direction that will be out of people's way a little bit more than it currently is. So, those are the options. Obviously the follow the same route has the advantage of it's the shortest but we see what happens when these mains go cross lots and get forgotten. So,
I think
it's
near as we can
all up
figure,
for discussion.
near as we can figure with this particular one, it probably dates back almost over 100 years. So
Right.
this was.
I'm guessing it wasn't.
So.
Yeah, I'm guessing it wasn't 2 or 3 feet from the house when it started. So I imagine there was probably an addition built on the original structure, and
Possible.
lo and behold, here we are.
So, okay.
Yeah, and the last item I had, and I won't dwell on it, but we just have an amendment that we presented last June, last June, at the June meeting for our continued services on the project, and just hope the board would consider that tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I did actually, Mike, have a conversation with Kevin about that today, and as far as he's concerned, he has no concerns with going forward with it. So,
All right.
I think we're good to go there for our resolution. So,
Okay. Sounds good. You want me to stay on the call a little bit for anything Chris has to say, or?
well, so Tara, I was going to put Chris on next since you're on there. So if you want to stick out in case he has any questions with you, that would be fine. Chris,
Okay.
you want to do report on water and sewer?
Sure. I'll report on the water. So far, the past month, we've fixed 2 leaks, one in the front of the country store in Roxbury, one on Route 23 in Grand Gorge. We know of another one in Grand Gorge that we are in the process of trying to fix. We're going to be there tomorrow for a dig. We've started replacing our ailing water meter antennas. Those antennas only last about 10 years. So things are starting to, it's been probably 11 years since they've been put in. So they're slowly starting to pop up that they're not working. We're starting to work on that. And like I said, today up at Denver Water, they're working on the telemetry and the controls. That should be completed hopefully tomorrow. And that system should be up and running. As far as anything sewer wise, I know my colleague is there at the meeting tonight, and he can fill you in on any sewer problems.
Just about to call on him. Alex?
Hi, everybody. I'm Alex from LVDV Operations. So for Denver Sewer, overall the facility is doing good. It's in good condition. The daily flow for the month of June was 10,000 gallons per day. Our monthly lab samples were collected and sent out on Thursday, June 3rd and Thursday, June 10th. All the laboratory testing results confirmed that we continue to keep well within compliance with the parameters set forth by our speedies permit. We had a DEP quarterly facility compliance inspection that was conducted on 6/1/21 by Dennis Cavello. All items came back satisfactory except for the microfiltration unit's turbidity meter, which received a rating of unsatisfactory due to the photosensor not working. And due to this, we had to file a report of non-compliance event, which was filed with DEC on Thursday, 6/24/21, because as a constant reading of turbidity is mandatory, as it is set forth by our speedies permit. And we installed a new one. We installed a new turbidity meter controller and accessories on Wednesday, 6/16/21, and all systems are working satisfactory since the installation. And DEC has been notified, and also DEP. Correction. We have Joe Pacheco from DuPont. That's the company that services our microfiltration units. They'll be here August 2nd to do the yearly service for us. We had a pump down on one of our microfiltration units, and we installed new parts from the repair kit, and that's all taken care of. We also have a circuit breaker that went bad on one of our blowers, one of the panels. We have Hinkley Electric is ordering that part, and that should be here soon. I think that's the major things for Denver sewer, for Roxbury sewer. We had a average flow for the month of June of 36,000 gallons per day to the Grand Gorge wastewater treatment plant. We had 3 power outages, and once the power outages were over, all equipment was running satisfactory. We had 2 pumps that were repaired at Helper Corners pump station, HC2 pump station, and let's see. We had Hunter Environmental come and pump out pump station HC1 and HC2 of fats, oils, and greases and rags. We're thinking about doing that twice a year because there's quite a bit of grease in a short, within a 6-month period. We scheduled the annual generator services with Kinsley Power Systems. We have manhole number 8, which is by the old mill off of County Route 41. That needs to be lifted about 7 inches. So we're looking into, we contacted Core Main to order a riser for that. And we're having John Bubeck provide a price quote to perform that work.
Chris, while you're still on there, I noticed we did have, well, I apologize to cut you off now. So just thinking about risers. I know we had quite a few water valves we were talking about doing that with as well, right?
Yes, and I have ordered those risers, and I have them.
Okay.
And when I get time, I will address those.
All right, Alex, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
Well, I was thinking.
Yeah, no problem. The only other things I have here, we with the sewer force main mowing for the easement, that's almost completed. We just have an issue behind the Grand Gorge Army and Navy surplus shop there. There's a guy that has equipment on the easement, and it's been there for a couple of years. So we're in the process of having him move that off of it. The easement's about 25 feet wide. So he's been moving it off about 20, 30 feet, and he's got a little bit more to do there. And then we also, the other thing here is we contacted Seaward Equipment to get a price quote to rebuild the 2 pumps at the main pump station. When they did the yearly service this year, they realized they discovered some oil or some water in the oil. So they, seals and things need to be replaced. So that's all I really have, guys, for the sewer.
Anybody on the board have anything for Lamont over here? Okay, moving on. Thank you. Bill, why don't you give your report?
Okay.
Highway.
Not a whole lot, just for information. We plan on well installing the list of roads, hopefully on July 26th. Weather permitting. It'll be Vega Mountain Road, Car George Road, Hillcrest Drive, Golf Course Road, Burroughs Memorial Road, and Charcoal Road in Grand Gorge. As far as all the storms, last night we really had minor storm damage. We had a flood culvert and jump brook we repaired today, and some small amount of damage on the road over in New Kingston, which is also already repaired and back to normal. Other than that, we got the new truck last month on the day of the meeting. That's registered and we're using it, working great. Other than that, I'd like to thank Roger and Renee for the gift certificates and all the letters that you've sent. You really like to see that. It helps
Yeah,
the
well,
guys, and
We really thank you for your great
nice
service
to
with the
hear.
roads.
the appreciation of the public.
Anybody have anything for Bill? Okay. Moving on, we did get a report from, did we get a report from the planning board? I didn't see it. We didn't. I will just say for the planning board's purposes, I know, as most of you are aware, I think we are looking into this Hughes Energy, or that they are looking into this Hughes Energy project, and there will be relatively soon, probably within the next few months, there's going to be a public hearing scheduled for the planning board for the site plan review on that project. We've got through a lot of the hurdles with DEC and they're getting ready, I think, to go for the site plan review. So, and that review comes through the planning board and not through the town board. So the town board will not be involved in that. That is strictly through the planning board. As they manage the site plan review process. Stephanie, what do you have?
Excuse me, not a lot, Alan. We put the 2021 roll to bed. And so obviously, the rolls are available for inspection in the public, both in our office and over here. The electronic version will be on our website as soon as, oh, hi Renee, as soon as the IT department in Delhi prepares that, which should be sometime this week. So we're really excited about that. So we're starting to work, we're starting to work on 2022, and we'll be out in the field doing permit work as soon as it stops raining. And
We're in.
what?
Never mind, it was somebody else I
Oh.
just saw in the.
Oh, hello. Okay. And that's it. A couple of other things in the report, nothing major. We did, and I just will mention that we did call a July BAR. And so a July BAR is it's kind of like a one-on-one, basically, private grievance day for increases for properties that changed in value or had a physical change that we didn't know about prior to filing the roll. So it's basically, it's the property owner's opportunity to hear our complaint and to respond to it, and the BAR makes a decision. So that's it.
Anybody have anything for Stephanie? Assessment related? Okay. We did receive a report from our building inspector. I see a lot of CO searches, so that kind of goes along with the amount of property exchanges we've had this year. So, Riley, you still there?
Yes, I am.
I don't see Peg's name on here, so I assume you're at the Mark project, right?
No, but I can give you any information that's needed.
Okay, and I also, Denise is here, so I'll let Denise, why don't you talk about the park first, and so you're here, if you have anything.
Yeah, I
to
sent
report.
the report. We're really busy with events. We're working in the gardens, and we've had a lot of washed out pathways that Corey's dealing with as far as rain many times. And the kitchen work, we've gotten in there and scrubbed it. It's beautiful. Everything seems to be working. Wayne Care was here. And we have a meeting on Friday for the historic preservation.
Okay. Riley, did you have anything from the Mark project side of things?
I don't have much to give to you guys tonight. The only thing I'd say with Kirkside, with the water and everything coming up with the car show, the grounds are pretty wet. This is not Mark related in some ways, but if we could get maybe cars to park up on the other side, it's going to be very wet. But besides that, I really don't have much to report on with the Mark project. Peg will be coming back on here shortly to give any updates, but just a heads up, it's very, very wet, and just trying to look out for the park in itself with cars going in.
Is Peg gonna be on tonight? I didn't get a chance to talk to her today at all.
She did chime in. She is up in Lake George.
I know she's away.
Yep, she did try to chime in. I don't know how her Wi-Fi is up there, but she was on. Said to me that she would be chiming back in, but I think she might have technical difficulty. If
Yeah,
there's
I
any question,
don't see her name on the list, so she's probably not.
yep. So if there's anything I can answer in direct question, I will try my best. Otherwise, I'll be on for the rest of the meeting.
Okay, anybody on board have any questions for either Denise or the Mark project concerning?
Well, no question, but I think I did hear you say earlier, she's gonna get a hold of Kevin, because I think we do gotta get some contract for the kitchen, correct? I think we got a lot of people starting to want to use that.
Yeah, we did talk about that. We're gonna need to put together something with Kevin.
Okay.
Kristen, are you on? Christian Pratt is also, works with Kevin's office, and Kevin wasn't gonna be on tonight. So Kristen, have you heard or talked anything about, we're looking to put together a contract for the use of the kitchen in the Kirkside Park?
Okay, I haven't heard anything about the contract yet. Is that something that
I
you?
haven't emailed Kevin twice.
Yeah, Denise has been back and forth with Kevin a bit on it. Maybe you could
Sure.
just let him know.
Sure, absolutely. I can do that.
We are starting to get quite a few requests for using it, so it probably wouldn't hurt to see if we can get that together.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay.
Make sure you're muted on your visual as well.
Do you feel like you want me to tell them to put the actual show cars up on
Well, what are
the
your
side of
thoughts
the
on that?
bridge? Like, cause that could be, like, that would involve the Gould Church probably as well, approving that.
Well, that's our property over there behind the pool, so they've done it before. But I believe that let's wait it out for a few days. See
Yeah.
what the weather
Just
does.
gonna suggest if we give it a couple days, maybe.
Give
it'll
it a
dry
couple
out
days.
enough.
We've been in this
It's
about
happened.
We
before.
have, yeah.
This has happened 2 times.
I would bring up one thing.
Okay.
No offense, Denise. When something pops up, like what happened last week. Social media is fine, but the town board really needs an email, like immediately.
What?
Oh, like the thing with Delgado.
Oh, I did not.
Well, it's part of your thing that we need to know about it, not at the last 2 hours, 4 hours of the day.
I think she found out the same time we did.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think so.
well, I'm not busting, I'm not busting balls here. I'm just saying, like, that was a surprise.
Riley, you're still on, I believe.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I think it was kind of a misunderstanding, but I think most of the board felt that. I know this was kind of put in the works about a week and a half ago, and none of us really found out anything about the actual date and time until it was very late in the process. However, it seemed to instantly be on social media.
Yep. So with the whole Delgado thing, that was also brought up to the last minute with us. It was not brought to everyone's attention between the town and everything else. It was a pop-up thing that I'm not going to answer fully 100%, but it was a pop-up thing with Antonio to come in and do whatever he may done to talk about many different projects. The biggest thing that I'm looking at is coming back to having that, so be it. It was not on Denise, but going to like the car show, moving forward with the grounds, you know, there's many different hands in the game here. And looking at that, we just need to pay attention to the forthgoing on the severity of how wet it is, but I'm sure there's ways to compensate that. When the Gatto came in, it was a last minute thing. None of us were aware of it. So I think we all managed it pretty well, considering it was a good event. Everyone was present that wanted to be, but I think, you know, go forward, yes, if we could have an announcement for it, but I don't think that was on anyone's position. With Denise, it was also a pop-up thing that happened. And I'm not going to turn away someone coming in with Delgado coming in. You know, it's hard to turn that away. It was an event that happened. But if we, you know, going forward.
Riley, I think it was very misinformed and I think it was wrong. Okay. And I'm not blaming anything on Denise by no means, but she should have been notified way ahead of time before this happened.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That there was a potential for an event about a week ahead of time, that because I was asked about availability for that date, about a week ahead of time.
Yep. No,
I was not told for sure there would be an event until a couple of days prior. So I guess I'm asking so that I know for sure in the future. I'm completely willing to take responsibility. It doesn't bother me at all. But going forward, do you want me to tell you about every event that I book? Cause that's my question. Like,
No,
I mean,
I think
I'm
it's-
booking events all.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with the event being booked in the park. I think it's just more that as a board, we were not really informed that a United States Congressman was coming to our town for a meeting, which I think had nothing to do with you at all.
Well, so that part of it, like, I mean, I guess when a United States Congressman comes to a town to do something like that, wouldn't they contact the town?
Well,
So like,
Oh,
there
apparently
was-
not.
there was,
Yeah,
and I will say this, there was a series of misunderstandings.
So
Delgado level too, 'cause
if anyone can hear me right now, and all due respect to everybody on the town board, Denise, everybody, I don't think this was a situation where anyone was notified. I don't think this was a thing where anyone was ready for it. I think it was a, hey, I'm coming. And this is what it was. So we made the best we could of the situation. And I don't think it's anyone's fault, but it was something that came in and goes, hey, I'm coming. And really, we need to think about it if that's what happened. And yes, maybe next time we need to make everyone know every hand in the game needs to know more information, which we can put out, and I'll mention it till that. Oh, and that, but we all, no fingers pointed at anybody. So I didn't mean for that to come that way, but it's something that happened very last minute, which is an honor to have him come here in a heartbeat. But we all need to, maybe communicate a little better, which is on no one's part, between the town, Denise, nor no one, even the Mark Project or talking to Peg. We all just, it's something that happened and it doesn't happen normally. So let's, we can move on to the next thing, but we all just need to pay attention to things that we see and, go on from it. It wasn't a bad thing, but we just need to all communicate a little better, which maybe we can get on a smaller email thread and work that forward.
And I agree, and I will say that I did hear from Delgado's office that they were sorry that there was some miscommunication, and they very much apologized and said they would be very. It's good that they're interested in being involved in Roxbury. I think that's a wonderful thing, and I don't think we should deter that at all. I think going forward, I think they understand too that they need to work a little better with communication, but again, they did certainly contact us and apologize, so everything is fine.
Yep.
Anybody have anything else community related? Okay. I saved the best for last because I'll let Deanna handle the short-term rental stuff, and I know there's a lot of people on here that are interested in what's going on. First thing I did want to say is we did receive several comments from several people in the community. I got a lot of them personally through email and through other things, but we did receive several comments. I think that at least in my conversations with most of the board, and I haven't been able to talk to everybody, I think at this point, it looks like we want to try to put them back to the committee and let them go through the comments that we received and move forward. For that, I'll let you.
Yeah,
fill in where
the
we're at.
last meeting we had, we put it out there as a draft, and we wanted everybody to give us comments. We do have a lot of comments, and there are a lot of good comments because there's things that we did not think about. So if anybody else has any more comments, I'd like to get them by Friday. Because what I want to do is I want to compile them all. Most of them, all the ones I've gotten, I've forwarded to the committee. And then I just want to consolidate them all, kind of group them together into different categories and stuff, and then gather the committee back together so we can discuss them all. So there is quite a few, so it is going to take some time. I'm not going to say that a time frame. I mean, we probably have 10 to 12 letters and more to go through. So that's about it.
And I will just add that at some point, once we've reviewed everything, that the comments that we did receive will be available for public review. It's going to take a little time to put them together in some kind of order, but they will be available for anybody that's interested in reviewing them. So. Anybody have anything else in short-term rental? And I know we're going to have a public comment discussion here at the end of the meeting, and we will open it up to comments from people at that point. But does anybody have anything at this point? Or would you have any more? You have anything you wanted to say, or are you good?
No.
Patrick, do you have anything you want to say about short-term?
No, I think all those letters are awesome. There was a lot of things that, as Deanna said, we didn't think about or didn't bring up. And it's gonna be put in consideration. We're gonna have to have probably a couple more meetings to hash it all out. You know, it's a melting pot. You know, it's great to have people's comments, and good or bad, we're gonna have to go through it and rehash a lot of things.
Well, I will reiterate
Not
also.
that I really want to do this a lot, but it's gonna be part of the job.
First off, I do want to thank everybody that's been involved with the committee. I know you put a lot of time and effort into this, and it has been a process for everybody. But I also wanted to say that we're not in a big hurry to try to rush this through or force it down anybody's throat. So we are trying to review it as much as we can and get as much public comment as we can. I'm very happy to see that we did get as much public comment concerning the first draft that was put out. And there'll still be opportunities. We have not even scheduled a formal public hearing on a local law yet, which will be the point that we would make a decision. So we will probably come out with another draft, hopefully incorporating some of the comments we've received from other people. So. Anything else I missed on old business that anybody can think of that we have? How about new business? Anybody have anything for the board? Board members, anything for new business? I will say that we did put out an RFP for an upgrade of the town's website. We did get some responses back. However, I did find out today that there were several people that we had intended to send a request for RFP out that did not receive them. So I'm trying to sort that out. We may have to give them another couple weeks to respond. Or that we had thought were being sent the direct copy of the RFP that had requested it, that didn't receive it. So that's going to be carried on. We will be looking at that further next month. Received several other letters to the board. One from Bob Cusinata concerning the parkland. I believe everybody in the board received that and reviewed it. I did have some discussions with Kevin about this. Apparently to transfer any kind of a parkland in New York State requires, even if it's a small portion, requires a state legislative act. It's not something that the town really has the authority to do if it's a designated parkland. So there may be some other issues with trying to go forward with that, even if we wanted to. But we'll continue to look into that, and I'll speak to Mr. Cusinata myself about that. We received a couple letters concerning the ARPA funds, which the board has received. We also received a letter from the senior club concerning them dissolving the Grand Gorge Seniors Club, which unfortunately they've decided to dissolve. Roger and Renee, you're here. If you have any comments you'd like to say, again, as Bill said, we appreciate your thoughts and comments.
Our road has never been, it's always been taken care of well, but this has been the best. And the other piece was, I really appreciated how considerate, I had just got all my trash ready to go to the transfer station. And all of a sudden I saw I couldn't get out, and there were two trucks, two men working. And one of them signaled the other one. And he came right in front of me and he said, "Follow me out." And they made a path. I didn't want to bother them. I felt terrible. They made a path for me to go. They were so kind, in addition to doing great work. So we really appreciate it. And all the roads are wonderful. And then we see you coming by after rainstorms to check, everyone's road, which is also wonderful. And it's really easy to take it for granted. I think Roger and I don't take it for granted so much, because when we first moved here, we got in and out by snowmobile in the winter. We didn't have a town road. And we really appreciate the care you do.
Oh, it is that big.
Okay, moving on. We're gonna open the meeting up as we do every month for public comment. I just wanted to say, please keep your comments brief. If you are online on Zoom and would like to make a comment, please post in the chat. We have Amber Gray on here who is helping me co-host. She will allow people to come in in the order that they make a comment, to make comments if they want to speak to the board. Before I do that, I'd like to open it up to anybody from the community who's here at the meeting who would like to make a comment to us concerning anything. Sure.
My name is Mina.
Okay.
I see it here on the resolution list, the paperwork for speed reduction on Meeker Hollow.
Yes.
Does that mean it's been submitted or it's in the process?
We have not submitted anything yet. We
Okay.
discussed it briefly at our last meeting. The board is going to discuss it again briefly to decide what we're going to do between. We've had requests for both Meeker Hollow Road, and we also have for County Route 41 from Stratton's Falls to where it goes to 30-mile-an-hour zone. And we tabled it last month. We're going to be discussing it further. And then the process for that, just so you know while you're here, is a little more complicated than just us making a decision. What has to happen is the town has to request the speed reduction, and it has to go to the county and then to the state. And it actually ultimately gets decided by the state, which is a pretty long process or lengthy time. So that's the procedure for doing it. The first step is the board has to pass a resolution requesting it. And then we have to get it approved through the state.
Okay, well, thank you for your consideration. But as you all know, Lower Meeker is a Platic Hill Road and a lot of excited skiers in the winter. They can't wait to get to the resort. And it creates dangerous.
I can't wait to get to work every morning.
Yeah, I know your truck.
I go reading.
I'm not, you're the least of my worries. It's the hundreds
Thank
of
you.
skiers that are speeding on that road in the winter.
I always wait for your husband.
Every morning.
Well, thank you for your consideration.
Sure enough. Anybody else have any comments locally? Renee, go ahead.
I see that you have another resolution for whether you're going to opt out for marijuana. I don't know what you're gonna do. You might say, we don't want it. But if you decide that that's not the answer, then I'm asking a question. If it would be possible, if you're thinking about doing it, that everybody on the board, I've written, you know that, I've written a 195-page report. It took me months. What I did was I compared all the states. Well, not compared, but I used the states that already legalized marijuana. And the unintended consequences of it, from enforcement to poisoning of children, to cartels coming to, and it's by topic. So it's pretty easy to pick what topics you want to look at. So I'm just requesting, if you're thinking at all about doing it, and just to throw this out too, in Colorado, for everybody thinks you can make a lot of money doing this. But in Colorado, for every dollar that they make to mitigate the damages, they spend $4.50. So it's devastating. And, you're bringing in a lot of people that you don't want to come into the town too. So anyway, so I'm just requesting, you can say no, obviously, but that if you're thinking about it, I'll be glad to email someone my report, everybody my report, so that you could review it first. And it's not my report. It is my report, but everything is based on an article from the internet that you can just go to and check.
we have Kristen Pratt from Kevin Young's office. I did speak with Kevin earlier today, and Kristen, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, but Kevin said that you could speak to this, maybe to give the board a little better idea, and anybody that's here a better idea of what the process is. I know that this is an opt-out law based on, I understand it's for growing facilities and retail. Is that correct?
That's correct. And there is a letter that's gone around from the county sheriff's office.
Yes.
So,
the board has received that. So.
right. So there's a few different options. There's the dispensary and then there's the use. So the town has the option to opt out of both types of facilities or just one of the two, or not to do anything at all. So those are the options. The time sensitive piece of this is that the local law has to be passed by December 31st, 2021 in order to opt out. That local law is also subject to permissive referendum. So that adds another piece to this as far as timing goes. So not to put pressure on the board, because I'm not entirely sure, which direction the board is leaning toward, but if there is going to be an opt-out, that process should probably get started sooner rather than later in order to comply with that deadline.
Okay. And this, just so we're all clear, this is not to opt out of allowing the use of marijuana in our community. That's a state law. This is to opt out of allowing any kind of a growing operation or any kind of a retail operation, correct?
Right.
Okay. Just so everybody's clear on that.
You can have a store on Main
Yeah,
Street.
that was
Put
We
that
did
road
not-
there?
that's-
No.
Okay.
That's not THC.
But he's not licensed
Oh, yeah,
to
that's
sell
No, that's
sell
not
marijuana.
Different.
No, they sell CBD products, but they're not licensed to sell marijuana. I don't know that anybody is in New York State yet. I don't think that's even, the process has even happened anywhere. Although it's legal in New York, I don't think there's any provisions by the state that I know of. Is that correct, Kristen?
So I'm just reading from here, the sample, I have the sample cannabis law. The opt-out options are the number one is retail dispensaries, two is on-site cannabis consumption establishments. So those are the two that are subject to this opt-out provision. So the town could choose to opt out of one or both of those or neither of those.
And,
Sure.
the consumption, as far as I'm aware, because I've studied the law also, that's, if that's what they're talking about, is kind of a bar. Instead of an alcohol establishment, it would be a marijuana establishment. And just to let everyone know also, that's very dangerous in itself, because I'm sure most people don't realize this, but alcohol has a per se, 05, 08, everybody knows what that is. There is no per se for marijuana. So if someone smokes all the time or a lot, it stays in their system for at least 3 weeks if they're always smoking. So if they're arrested or if they have a serious crash or fatal, what happens is some innocent people will get charged and will have a problem, and some guilty people will slide through the system. It's very difficult. There's no way to know if someone, you can test and see if it's in their system, but you can't tell if they're legally high, impaired. And if I'm just offering myself, not
Okay.
here, but if anyone, I know a lot, I used to be the stop DWI coordinator in Delaware County for 15 years. Now I work for Governor's Traffic Safety. So if anybody wants any information, throw questions at me, I'd be glad to answer what I know.
Anybody else have any comments locally concerning that?
That didn't include, what she said didn't include growing facilities, so. You said
I guess
dispensaries and
I guess not. Is that correct, Kristen? It does not include growing facilities?
No, it doesn't. So this local law, let me just circle back, and I'm referring to cannabis law 131. So I was just checking the definition of the facility. So it's a retail dispensary or on-site consumption license. So those are the two.
Okay, so it doesn't include growing. Okay. I guess we have no comments in the house here. We'll open it up to anybody who is on Zoom who would like to make a comment. Amber, do you have anybody there that's looking to make comments?
Yes, we have two people. The first is Robin. So Robin, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you. So I have a couple of comments. I'll try to be as brief as possible, but one is, has the board discussed any use of the COVID funds that are expected to come to the town? And also, what are the projects being considered at the county level as well?
As far as the town level, we did have a meeting previous, Deanna and Mike, you were both involved with it. I was not. And maybe you could just reiterate what was discussed if you like.
There was just a lot of ideas brought up. There was really nothing discussed between Dee or myself. It was pretty much the community giving us a list, and I would say Dee was there 15 to 18 ideas. I mean, a lot of people had thrown around suggestions, but we left that meeting, and I think Dee and I both discussed maybe not a bad idea doing it in Grand Gorge or possibly in Denver to see what other people have to say, but there was no more discussion after that night in Kirkside.
So the board has not discussed this at all. It's not coming up because the money is going to be available fairly soon, isn't it?
Yes, it is going to be available. I just got a letter actually this week that says that they are going to be distributing funds fairly soon. As far as exactly where it's going to be spent and how it's going to be spent, that we have not finalized yet. We are looking into it. There are a lot of different options that we can use, but as I said, we have as a board not met to discuss it yet permanently. To your other question with the county, I think it's kind of the same situation. I'm also involved with the county board. I know the county has had a couple of different meetings, which I've attended concerning one with their accounting firm and one with some other experts involved with this. I think it's the same kind of a thing. I think there's a lot of options. There is a lot of flexibility in what these funds can be used for. But anything that gets done in both on a local level or at the county level has to be related to COVID and to community issues related to COVID and things like that. So I think from what I understand, there is still a lot of questions to be answered as far as exactly what you can use it and what you can't use it for. I know there's a lot of speculation out there, but from what I've seen from the state so far, there is not definite guidelines, and this comes back from the federal government actually. So there are a lot of different things that can be used. I think we're probably going to be looking to get some direction from accountants and people like that in the town here as well as to some of the projects we may consider whether they can actually be used. So.
When you do, will this come up for the public to know what it is that you're planning?
I would assume so. We don't plan to do it behind the scenes. We would definitely make it available to the public what our plans are for it.
Okay, and I have another one, and that is about this opt-out town allowance for marijuana. Is that something that this board is considering? And if they are, will they be putting this out to a vote to the greater community?
Well, I think we've only recently gotten information concerning this opt-out, and I think we're looking into it. I don't think anybody's made a decision or decided yet which way we want to go as a board. I believe that, as Kristen said earlier, whatever local law we develop would be subject to public referendum if there's a need for it. So it would go to vote if that's the case. So.
Okay, and a time for public comment, or should we be sending you our comments now?
Kristen, can you answer that for me? I understand that we would have to do this as a public referendum, correct?
Sure. So the local law, the process would be if the town decides to move forward. And when I say move forward, consider an opt-out, because if the town doesn't act, then, you know, the law just stands as is. So the first procedure would be to adopt a local law. So that's not just a resolution, but an actual local law. And public comment can be accepted on that local law. And what happens if the town were to pass a local law? That's subject to a permissive referendum. So the permissive referendum means that 45-day period after the resolution adopting the legislation occurs. If a certain number of voters says they want a referendum, then there needs to be a vote on it. So that would be a permissive referendum. So that's what makes the period. So there's a couple of different options. I mean, as far as a member of the public, though, I think you can always submit comments, you know, at any time on the topic, if it's something you wanted to ensure, you know, that the board received.
Okay, well, I would hope that you would open this up for a public comment before you went ahead and passed a local law and then put it up for referendum.
I will say, Robin, as you know, the process for a local law requires a public hearing anyway. So there would definitely be a period for public comment prior to that. Ken Macker, what do you have?
I'm just, just a question. If the town does not act on it, this is for Chris. If the town does not act on it, does it go back to the county?
So it doesn't go back to the county. What happens if the town doesn't act? That means that retail establishments are permitted in the town. So the significance of the December 31st deadline is that.
Doesn't that still go back to the county law?
No.
I'm not sure what you.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
No, it's local
Right,
home
that
rule
would be-
law, so it would be just the town, right?
That's right. So the cannabis law is a state law. And I guess maybe the confusing part is that the correspondence that the town received was from the county sheriff's office. So essentially this New York state law would govern, and it's the New York state law, and it's section 131 of the cannabis law that provides all municipalities with the option to opt out by that deadline.
I would just urge the board to think about the financial benefit to the town before they would decide to opt out. I have one more thing. I apologize for taking so long, but I would like to know what's going on with Reed's Hotel, because it's just getting worse and worse. There's a gray fox living there. There are cats and rodents. Nothing is being done. It was uncondemned, which I still really don't understand. And there's been no activity there that I'm aware of. So can you tell us the state of that? And can you also tell us if you're planning to re-condemn it? It's a danger to everyone on the street.
Well, I definitely don't disagree that it's certainly an eyesore. We did have it condemned once before because there was some issues with the roof. Obviously, the front porch roof is in very rough shape on the building. We have approached the owner or attempted to approach the owner several times on some of this stuff. They did make some repairs, which I believe was the reason that our town code enforcement officer at that point lifted the condemnation order. I will say, and I know Kristen is on here, and I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm certainly not an attorney, but the problem with this property is, to my knowledge, it is not in arrears on taxes. It is a privately owned parcel of property. I think everybody in this room and on Zoom agrees that it is not a very pretty site in the middle of Roxbury. But at the end of the day, it is still private property. And from what I understand from when we looked at this as a board before, if we were to condemn the property, basically the only thing that the town can do, and Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, is we can try to compel the owners to either take down the building or make it safe. Or we can do that. We as a town can take responsibility and take the building down. And once we do that, we would have to put whatever costs involved in taking the building down on the taxes of that property. If ultimately the taxes don't get paid and it goes up for a tax sale, it would be sold to the county as a tax sale. But we do not have the right, from what I understand, as a town to go in and tell a private landowner what they can or can't do with the property. We don't have a zoning law in Roxbury, and it's been looked at several times and never been approved. So at this point, that's our recourse, from what I understand with this. Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. So Alan, a quick question for you. Does the town code enforcement office have authority to enforce the uniform code in Roxbury?
Yes, we use the
Okay.
New York State Uniform Building Code.
Got it. Okay. So the only other option, I guess, you're right. The only other option I would add to the list of options that you just provided is, and I have done this before in a little bit of a different situation, but if, for example, I'm not familiar with this specific property, but if a property is in disrepair and a municipality wants to seek injunctive relief to, for example, take the building down or take some other action regarding the property, I mean, that can happen via a court order. So that would have to involve Supreme Court litigation seeking injunctive relief. But as far as, self-help, you're correct that can't happen without, some sort of other action. And that's just another option to add to the list. And in extreme cases, I have seen that more along the lines of zoning violations, but I know the town doesn't have zoning. So I'll just add that to the list, so long as the code enforcement office does have jurisdiction to enforce the uniform code and there are violations. That's just another option.
Okay. And I will add that is a historic building as well, even though it's in very poor repair.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's done with it, I'm sure would involve state historic preservation as well.
Well,
That's
it's
part of our
just
historic
been sitting there for, it's years and years and years. Nothing is going on. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And it's attracting all kinds of vermin. I see it every day because I'm across the street from there.
Yeah,
Are there rats there?
Yes, I've seen rats.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure it is, Robin, and I don't disagree with you. It's very much an eyesore. I wish we had more that we could do about it, and this has been looked into before, actually several times. So it's not something that's new.
But wouldn't it be wise to condemn the building? I mean, it's not, I don't believe it's habitable.
Oh, that, when
They went back to
they
code enforcement. Yeah. I mean, we can probably go back and have Tom take.
Re-entertain the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more than willing to have our code officer take a look at it again. We have a different code officer since the last time we reviewed this, so that may be some more. Again, it would be up to his recommendation what we do with it. Or did Tommy look into it? Okay, he did look into it.
Right.
To tell you the truth, Diane, I don't remember
I can't
anymore.
remember.
I think Bill did, and then Tommy did, and then they undid it, so.
Tommy's one on.
Alan,
Yes.
I don't know if you could hear, it's Lucia, just about Reed. The last I knew, I'm just gonna comment about Reed is that, number one, they were gonna look at the whole flood mitigation and how they could figure out a way to repair the Reed Hotel. That was one thing. This was Peg, and I forgot who else, to be honest. I think it was a year or two ago. And then you were saying about what we can and can't do. Is there any way we could use police powers? Because when I did research on the Reed Hotel, it's a cover for about, I think, 7 different companies. One was the Roxbury, Royal something. I forgot. I sent all to peg. But it is a safety community, to the community. And I have seen rats go in and out. But I have seen contractors actually pee in the front, which was quite interesting. And I think Robin was there when I tried not to laugh, but I know it's not a laughing matter. But is there a way we could use, maybe this is a question for Kristen, use police powers in this situation?
Well, again,
Oh, go ahead.
It's Uniform Building Code.
my only comment is the only thing that we have to go by is the New York State Uniform Building Code. We don't, and again, I go back to the fact it's private property. We don't own it. If we owned it, certainly we would have something to do about it, or if it was in arrears on taxes and about to be sold in a tax sale or something like that, that's different, but it's private property. If the taxes are being paid on it, really the community has nothing to say about it.
Didn't he lie about his grant?
Building inspector take a look at it and see if we should condemn it?
There's a lot of things that have been back and forth about this property for many years. There's been a lot of angles looked at. Again, at the end of the day, and as most of you know, I was a town councilman for almost 18 years before I became town supervisor. So I and Ed and some of us others that have been on here a while have heard about this for a long time. And we're not insensitive to it. Believe me, we would love to be able to figure out a way to do something that works. We did get the one building that was actually a danger to a neighboring property torn down through condemnation, but the actual Reed's Hotel building has been problematic. And the only thing we did come up with, to your comment, Lucia, about this was when we did the LFA study about flood control mitigation, there isn't actually an aqueduct culvert kind of thing that goes under there from the stream that comes from Eagle Mountain.
Yeah.
And that goes through that property.
Mhm.
There was some design work that was done that in the event the town, one of the mitigation possibilities for that would be to make that thing bigger, where if in fact that worked out to be a feasible option, the town may have at some point some rights to condemn the property for the purposes of that only. But that has nothing to do with the building, from what I understand. And we would not be able to have other parts of this thing involved as far as renovations to the building or selling it or whatever. But again, that's a legal question that I really can't answer, quite honestly.
I know also, I just remember something. I think he lied about the grant information. I don't know if you remember that.
I wasn't involved in any of the grant applications. That was all not through the town. So that was something that would have been either through Mark Project or wherever he went, state or wherever he went to get grants.
Okay.
None of the town board was involved in any of that.
Okay.
Alan, can we have the building inspector look at this?
I will talk to the building inspector again and have him take another look at it and see what he thinks. If there's anything different that's changed since he was there the last time.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Judith McGuire also has a question. Go ahead, Judith.
Hey, actually, it's Alan, her husband. Hey, I'm just curious, I know it's the Reed thing is a frustrating situation. There's no easy fix, but it just find it interesting that if the situation is that it's a personal property that is, taxes are paid up, and there's not much that you can do. How come we can apply rules to, let's say, STRs? I mean, I know it's probably an oversimplification, but they're also private property, and we're going to try and apply some. And I get it, it's all for safety and things like that. But I mean, it sounds like there's kind of some overlap there.
No.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with you. I think the STR laws are more for public safety and it's a local law, no different than any other local law that addresses a certain issue town-wide, not just a specific property. You can't very well pass a local law that says everybody has to have their building in perfect pristine repair. That's kind of hard to do in this community.
It actually falls under kind of business law. you're making profit on your house or your establishment. It's totally different than personal residential house.
Alan, can I say that I spend a great deal of my day chasing people, tourists and visitors away from that building because it is unsafe. So I think you're wrong in saying that this is only a problem of the owner. I think it's a problem for the town.
Well, as I said, I will have Tom take a look at it again and see what his thoughts are concerning the building and the safety issues of it.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else with any comments at this point? If not, we're going to move into resolutions.
Yes, Lucia would like to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Lucia, go ahead.
Sorry, Alan. Just quick question on the police power. Not police power. Sorry, with the STRs. With the lottery system. Can you just explain that a little bit?
I'm not familiar with that.
It was-
Quite honestly, maybe Deanna
It's
can
not in
answer
the
that.
regulations that were presented.
No, it's not, and
mentioned.
not at all in the
No,
regulations that we have proposed as a draft.
that
I
was
think
not mentioned.
there may have been something in some of the comments we received about.
Yeah, it said there's a possibility there could be a lottery. I think like Rhinebeck, I believe there was a.
It was a letter that was sent that was, I don't know how to help you know, but yeah, it was part of a letter that was in an email.
Well, I think Jeffrey sent that, but I'm referring to last month, the documents. I believe it was mentioned, I think it was Rhinebeck, that you could cap homes in the area.
Well, I think that whatever local law we do, I mean, that's something that's not uncommon. I will say that, and from what I understand, the committee looked at a lot of other local laws. There are other communities that do that, and they control the amount of short-term rentals that are available in the community by having some kind of a lottery system or some kind of a quota system. In other words, I've also heard of it with bars in communities where they won't allow any more bars until one closes, kind of thing. Again, that's certainly not part of the draft that was presented to the town board. So at this point, it doesn't really have anything to do with it. And I believe I did see some comments about that in some of the comments that I reviewed, but again, that's going to go back to the committee to make decisions on what they want to do, if they want to consider that included, but it's certainly not something we're looking at as a board at this point that I know of.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Can I just say one other thing about the STR? It's Robin. Would you consider making the rules that you're putting together, would you consider making them applicable to all rentals, not just short-term rentals? If we're doing it for safety, why would we exclude that?
We looked into it.
Did you hear that?
Yeah,
Long term.
I guess she means if you're renting.
In other words, if you're a permanent or long-term rental property, would that be considered?
Fall under the guidelines of long-term rentals, but you know, this is a question that's could be answered and followed through with same. Oh, what am I trying to think of? It's the same enforcement, no matter what, long-term, short-term. So we already have through the county, through the state, you have guidelines for long-term rentals. There are no guidelines. There are no guidelines really for short-term
I
rentals.
think the state building, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I
Yes,
think
it is.
state building code defines rental properties as more than 30 days.
Right.
And they have in the state building, there are requirements for rental properties that are rented for more than 30 days. I'm not sure that, and one of the reasons for us looking at the short-term rental law is that they are not included in that because it's a short-term rental. And they're also not included in state laws that govern things like bed and breakfasts and hotels and motels. They also fall under state health department rules that do not cover short-term rental. That's one of the reasons this is being looked at. Renee?
I could be inaccurate, but in one of my letters that I wrote, statutory authority, public health law, section 225, part 7, subpart 7-1, temporary residencies, hotels, motels, cabins, colonies. And it permits to have someone come and inspect it, fire standards, water standards, electrical safety standards.
Yes,
It could fit under that.
that's a question for an attorney, but I was under the impression it does not.
Right.
But that law falls under long-term rentals. Does not fall under.
It
There is
says
a,
temporary residence.
But
Hotels,
there's no
motels.
definition of time.
Yeah, 30 days.
That's right. That's long-term rental.
Right.
That's the definition.
No, oh, no, it was, I thought it was under 30 days.
No, 30 days.
Well, there was another one here. Building code, now this isn't New York, but officials in the city of Newport, Rhode Island
Yeah.
have been classifying short-term rental properties under the International Building Code, IBC, instead of classifying them under the International Residential Code that applies to 1- and 2-family homes. That means, like hotels, they're required to have fire sprinklers, meet other life safety requirements, accessibility and egress.
Renee, I appreciate this.
Okay.
We have worked really hard for the last few months
Okay.
to, with our lawyer, with our committee, to try to get everything kind of copacetic and make it real easy. And what's happening now is, like, any time you get more than 2 people in a room, everybody's got an opinion. And we're trying really hard to make this fair for everybody, address the problems that people have with SDRs in their communities or on their road or their neighbors, you know, without making it quote unquote a pain in the ass. Okay. That's the way I am, and I'm throwing it out there. You have some great ideas. I mean, absolutely great ideas.
No, they weren't my ideas. I just wanted to.
I
throw
know,
them out.
I understand, but we're trying to work through this, and it's gonna take time. It's gonna take a lot more time. And that's where we're at right now. And I appreciate your input very much. And he does too.
okay, with that being said, I think we're gonna cut off the public comment period and we're gonna move into resolution so that we can get home at a reasonable hour tonight.
Alan, is there a deadline for spending money, with the COVID money? Like, I know we get it at a certain time. Do you have to spend it within a certain month?
To my knowledge, there is some kind of a deadline, but it's quite a ways
By the
out.
way it sounds, but, well, I think you also only get half of the money.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
So
wondered.
can we hold that half until the following year? Or do you have to spend it?
No, I think once you receive the funds for whatever project you're doing, I believe you have to spend it within a certain amount of time. That again is a question for Kristen, if she's still on.
Yes, I am here. I'm sorry, what was the question?
Concerning the ARPA funds, the question was, is there a time limit for when these funds have to be used once they're issued to the town or once the town decides what they're gonna spend them on? I think there is, but I can't remember what it is.
You know, I think there is as well. I apologize. I don't know offhand, but I'm happy to look into that and get back to you on that.
I know I've heard some comments about it before at the county level, but I can't remember myself what those time limits are.
Right. Yeah, let me check into that and I can follow up with you.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, if there's nothing else, we're gonna move on to resolutions. If everybody's ready, everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, first resolution is for the town clerk monthly report, supervisor's monthly report, assessor's monthly report, building inspector's report, water district reports, which we've all received, justice court monthly report, and the park department status report, which we received from Diane, or Denise, excuse me. Can I have a resolution for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For the Denver sewer upgrade project, we are not ready for a resolution there yet. We're still working through what the costs are gonna be and where the funds are gonna come from, basically. So, the website redesign that we spoke about earlier, as I said, we did receive some quotes back on the RFP, but there were several people that had requested information that did not receive it. So we have to go back and look at that again.
Do we need to re-advertise to start going?
I think we might need to do that. We're gonna have to. I just found out today that 3 or 4 of the people that were supposed to have been notified about this did not get a notification that we're on the list.
But there's a notification on the homepage, Alan.
There is, yes.
So-
There is. But we need to look into it a little bit more. So let's table it for now. I would like to say on that, once we do get the resolution or the RFPs back in, I would like to have some help from one of the board members, whoever is interested in being involved. I will be on the committee myself, but I would like to have some support from one of the other board members. And either you or Mike or somebody who likes that kind of thing.
Don't look at me.
I'm not looking at you.
Don't even look at me.
I'm living now, turning on. Don't worry, Ed, I got a project for you coming up too. So. Okay, we still have a vacancy on the highway department. At this point, I don't believe we have any applicants. I didn't hear anything new. You haven't gotten anything, right? Okay. So that's still pending as well.
That came in, he has.
The Lamont Engineering contract amendment, we spoke about it briefly when Mike was on the call. Kevin has reviewed that. I spoke with him today. If the board doesn't have any problem with that, we will go ahead and do that. I need a resolution from somebody to approve that.
I'll make the motion for that.
Mike? Second? Ed? Yes. Okay. All in favor? Okay, approved. And the speed reduction requests, we spoke about this briefly last month. I don't know what your thoughts are on whether you would want to go forward with this. We do have, before we can do a resolution, I do have to have the mileages for both roads so that we can submit it.
I think make a motion to table till next month.
So if you guys are okay with it, we'll move forward and get the mileage and
Table till next month.
Points from start and end.
right where it starts, where it ends, and the mileage differences, and then we'll make them and we'll set it up for next month. I know there was some discussion before, and that's why I wanted to hold off before we do it. So
So do we know it's gonna be like from the 30 all the way to, or we don't know, is that what you're saying? You don't know yet? What the person that put the
well,
request
for
in?
County 41, from where I've looked at it, my suggestion would be to go from Stratton Falls or all the way to where it drops down to 30.
As I said, I want to make this statement on record. No matter what we do on 41 or Meeker Hollow, it's gonna set the precedent for every other town road in the town of Roxbury. This is where we gotta be careful about it, because all of a sudden, we're gonna have roads that 30 mile an hour everywhere.
I think it's, and again, this is just my opinion, but I think, and this, from what I understand from talking with Sue over in the county, if you're going to change it and get the state to approve it, there has to be an underlying reason, either more like we did with County Route 8. where
That was
we-
only 200 feet. We're
not
talking
more than
about
200 feet. It was about a quarter of a mile, but the reason for that was because of 2 things. First off, because of the pool at the bottom with a lot of children and wanting a crossing, and then the other thing was because of the increased residential.
And that's very understandable.
But I think in order to get it approved by the state, you can't just arbitrarily say that any road can be done. You have to have a specific reason.
And who puts those reasons in?
It will be up to us,
Us?
up to us in the resolution. It's like with
Okay.
County 41, you have a wedding venue there. You have, again, a lot more housing.
And I see it's not on here. I thought we talked about it, but I think it's more important to entertain the idea of just Bridge Street having one-way parking on it.
Well, I think that may be
More
something
than
that we
have
should
a speed
include.
limit anywhere.
That may be something to be included in it as well, as we've had some talks about that too, so.
Yeah. I think this needs to have a little bit more discussion before
Okay,
something else happens.
I understand.
Yeah, I think with the speed limits too, it'd be good to keep it, if you're gonna go with the 30. You know, this going from 30 to 40 or whatever, then 55 or something.
Well, you know, I agree with some of these people. I mean, the outside speed limit is 55. I drive to work every day. I don't really drive over 45, 50 mile an hour all the way to work. I have actually, because Alan kind of clued me in on this, pay attention to it. And seriously, in the morning, I'm not driving down. And even when I come home at night, I'm not driving more than 50, 45, 50. You know, there's a lot of people with speed, especially from Stratton Falls back into town. And I catch myself a lot of times, I'm doing 45. I hit by Greg Sheldon's, I'm looking down, I'm still doing 40. It's like, okay. I don't know if there's an answer to any of this. And the other answer to a lot of it, you can change the speed limit down 30 mile an hour without any kind of enforcement. You know,
Yeah.
what good is it?
What a good, yeah.
What
Well,
good is it?
It's 55 on the state wall, in front of my house is 30. I like to see how many people go by there 30 miles an hour.
I watched somebody,
50 through this.
I watched somebody right here in front of the bank the other day pass another car because they were doing 30 mile an hour. I was like, you kidding me?
It's a problem.
It's always a problem. Yeah. It's getting ridiculous.
Especially at night, I mean, you know, there on Main Street, it's, I'd hate to guess eventually what they're traveling. You know, and that's the main road. I mean, you're not gonna stop it, and if you can't police it.
I think we should open that more public discussion.
Well,
Stuff.
I don't disagree with you. And I think that the other thing we
You
need to
need
consider
letters.
there is possibly some speed reduction signs, the flashing signs in both communities. I've looked into some quotes on that, but I think that's something we need to get more serious about doing because I've been suggesting it for about the last 15 years since I became a board member. So I think it's something we definitely need to consider.
Has those signs on Bridge Street, has that helped? I like the signs, but I don't know if anybody pays attention.
Actually, a couple of the residents there have said, yes, it's helped. Well, really helped with stone and oiling.
Yeah.
That slows everybody.
Do that every 6 months. That
Yeah,
doesn't slow them down.
every spring, if you stone and oil it, they'll go slow.
At least till they stop getting their cars home worked up.
The only thing I was told about signs is they work for a while
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then people get used to them. I mean,
Well, they
unless
got that one
they're
going
strict.
into Stanford now. My wife was the other day just her comment on it. She was driving in, she goes, I didn't see the damn thing until like, you know, it should have been out more in the open by, like, say, that well house or something. It's right there, right?
At the 30.
Well, the other thing,
Yeah, and you're supposed to go stand.
the other thing about this is that whenever you do something like that, and I've looked into this more, when we do it on a state right of way, which all of the roads except County 41 that we would be putting those on are state roads. We have to get it approved through the state. They only have a certain size sign that they allow in a certain color. And there are also regulations, from what I understand, as to how far they can be from where the first speed reduction sign is. So it's a 30 mile zone. You can only go so far in front of that 30 mile zone with these speed reduction signs.
I still think we buy an old state police car and just pull it around there.
Well, I tell you, that slows down.
Get a dummy.
Probably work better than
Dummy car.
that.
Probably work better than anything.
Probably the truth.
That one in Stanford just does run speed down there, but I'm sure it's right.
Yeah, but that one there is, by the time you realize that it's, you're already by it.
If they're not enforceable, it's information.
Okay, moving on. You all got a letter from the arts group concerning the sidewalk mural that they would like to put from the arts group down to the corner of on Eagle Mountain Road. It incorporates the property for the arts group plus the Gold Seal building. They have an artist who would like to do a street mural, which is a permanent mural.
Till flood comes.
Well, it's gonna be on the sidewalk, not in the street. It's gonna be designed so that I believe they're gonna use sand paint so that it's not slippery.
What is it gonna be a mural of?
Yeah, that's what
Well, I asked her, I forwarded you guys
Yeah.
samples of what the thing is supposedly gonna look like.
It's art.
It's art.
It's art.
Nothing obtrusive
It's
or
art.
obnoxious or anything else in most opinions, but
I didn't understand it, but it's art.
anyway, nobody has a problem with it. I mean, it's private property. We really don't have to pass a resolution, but I think we can certainly do that in support. If everybody, unless somebody has a problem.
I make a motion. Let them do it.
Have a second?
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, next is the contractor who started the work on the roof at Kirkside. You all received a copy of the letter that Kevin's office drafted concerning the payment for this. What I need is an authorization to move forward with that pending approval or an approval for the agreement from the contractor. So as long as the contractor agrees to it, we would pay the amount that was requested.
Right, and Alan, if I could just add, and that would also be in exchange for a release from JCA as
Yes,
well.
really, that was the word I was looking for. I apologize. Thank you.
Oh, that's okay.
It was for a release from the contractor from any further obligations to the town of Roxbury. So
I would make that.
want a second?
I like it.
And all in favor?
Yeah.
And then we have a pre-approval list of invoices. These are the two invoices from Evergreen Construction. And then now this JCEA would also be a pre-approval. In other words, once we have authorization that we can move forward with these, we can go ahead and issue checks.
Make motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next one, you had a list of records destruction from Diane. Any motion for that?
I would make that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
The opt-out law we discussed, there's nothing to vote on there at this point. I also sent you some additional information today concerning this New York Stretch Energy Code. I think at this point we should table that indefinitely, quite honestly.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, we just got it today.
Yeah, this was just some additional stuff that Beth actually from town, Middletown.
Oh, okay.
Let's skip over the marijuana.
So are we taking that right off?
I think for now, yeah, we're not gonna address it for a while. With the marijuana sales, I think we need to get a little more information concerning where we're going with this.
I'm still talking about where you fired.
Again, I know a lot of the other towns in the county are considering it as well. The sheriff's department did submit a letter, which all you guys got in support of opting out of this.
I think you ought to see what the rest of the county's doing.
I think we need to look into and kind of get a better feel for where this comes from. You also received a statement with all of the water costs for the water projects that have been going on. Just an ongoing statement.
Are we gonna add a resolution to extend those RFPs for the website?
Yes, I would like to do that. We can extend it until actually probably the next meeting,
I'll make that motion.
and that'll give us some time to review.
The 9th, August 9th.
9th of August.
You want it by the 9th, the meeting day, or the 6th, the Friday before?
Why don't we say the Friday before? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
And then we can.
Second.
What?
Macker.
I know Macker.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor of that? The last thing is a resolution to pay the bills.
I will make that, I got one, I just want to talk about one bill in there, and it's nothing that we shouldn't pay, but the cemetery up the end of the road here. I've had a bunch of people want to know how can we go about getting it mowed more than every other week? Grass is getting pretty high and they weed whack it, and there's a lot of stones that have. And just some concerns.
Association, no control over that.
It's the cemetery association that is managing that.
Okay.
The only thing we do as a town. You're on that. You're one of them. Yes.
He's only mowing it every other week.
Every other week is what he said the contract, so that's all he had to do.
All right, I'll send an email out to Mary.
That is-
that might be all, but I know in Grand Gorge, ours is the same, but then they
Yeah.
whack around, they always on the stone.
It's been
Oh.
a real strange
Well,
summer so
sorry.
far.
Yeah.
Grass is growing faster than you can mow it.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The only thing we do as part of our budget is we authorize X amount of dollars a year for the maintenance of the cemetery.
Yeah, a certain amount was budgeted.
Right, we budget it and then it's paid as it goes through, but we don't really have any say in who mows it or how or
Being
whatever.
governed by.
We don't want to say.
And we don't want to.
But besides that, I'll make a motion. to approve the bills.
Okay, can I have a second?
I'll second that.
They're all in favor? Okay. We're done. No, not quite done. Next board meeting will be at Grand Gorge Civic Center at 7 o'clock.
No Wi-Fi there, right?
There is Wi-Fi there.
No, there won't be that.
It didn't work great as last time, but there is Wi-Fi there, so we'll do our best.
Congrats.
I guess we're good. Can I have a motion to go home?
I'll make that.
Second.